2011. Then he shifted to the Global Kidney Academy, and a lot of us knows what's Global Kidney Academy for the nephrology community, not only in Egypt but worldwide. Professor Meguid طبعا هو غني عن التعريف، لكن he has a white hand على الإيجيبشن physician. I myself ده دكتور محمد صبحي ما بعت له ناس يتمرنوا. I myself I know many of my students that went to him. Even professors now. مش عايز اقول اسامي، كان فيهم واحد الصبح دكتور احمد اقول ايه بقى؟
لا احمد جه قعد معانا مده. احمد جه عمل الانتيب بتاعته معانا في شيفيلد.
بالظبط. not only in the field of dialysis يا جماعه، الاستاذ بروف مجيد نحاس كان ليه برضه فضل في المانجمنت. حضرتك بتعمل كورسز في شيفيلد للمانجمنت اوف داياليسيس يونت اند اديوكيشن. فاحنا بيشرفنا وجوده معانا، واحنا بنحتفل بالعيد العاشر لمؤتمرنا. وان شاء الله النهارده في الجالا دينر هيبقى فيه تورته كبيره. كلكم طبعا معزومين على تطفوا الشمع معانا. الدكتور جمال هو اللي هيقوم بال
Thank you very much. ألف شكرا دكتور مجدي، وشكرا على الدعوة، وشكرا على التكريم اللي عملتوه في أول يوم أنت والدكتور هشام وجامعة عين شمس. ألف شكر على العزومة وعلى الصداقة وعلى الضيافة الكريمة. So as Dr. Magdi said, I practiced nephrology probably for 30 or 40 years, but I'll give you a taste of things that's happened. And I will not tell you my life story, and I will not give you advice, because I don't believe that giving advice is the way forward. The way forward is that you make your own experience like we do with our children. You make your own mistakes and you learn as you go along. But I'll share some of my experiences over the last few years, and we'll make it in a sort of informal way, almost like telling a story. There are many points we could highlight, but I thought I'll talk about the clinician and my impression about what being a doctor is all about, and an educator and perhaps a leader if we have time. I'll try to keep to my 20 minutes. Let me get my watch there and see if I can. But you will give me a few more minutes if I go over. So just to give you a feel of the last 50 years in hemodialysis, I remember when I first saw an artificial kidney, and Dr. Hisham and some of people in the audience may have seen the original, very old Kiel artificial kidneys, where there used to be huge dialyzer, huge number of membranes stacked together and held together, and dialyzing patients with these very old looking. Look at the size of the dialyzer and look at the size of the machine, and then you've got a cup of tea, because you'll be here all day long. And obviously you know what the new dialysis machine looks like. More recently, over the last few years, portable dialysis machine. This hasn't really taken off, but it just shows you that from the huge dialysis setup to a smaller dialysis setup, and even a portable hemodialysis machine that you can walk around and dialyze. On to Nano Technology that Mohammed Sobh alluded to. That's the artificial kidney, potential future artificial nano kidneys that you would implant like an allograft, and you would connect to the bladder, and you would get the ultrafiltrate and dialyze and walk around with an implantable artificial kidney. One step further, and maybe that's the future, is printable organ, 3D printed organs, where you can design an organ, a liver, a kidney, a heart. This is a heart, put it into a program, put it into a 3D printer, and print a heart, a kidney, a liver. This is a 3D printed frame of a kidney, injected with gel, and hopefully one day that type of technology can lead to printed artificial workable kidneys. Okay, so quickly take you through how to seek knowledge, go and seek knowledge everywhere. We're talking about migration, we're talking about traveling or not traveling, leaving our homes, leaving our countries, but seek knowledge wherever you find it. And at the end of the day, wherever you seek knowledge and wherever you live may become your home and may become your country or your whatnot. So go everywhere. I went to China many, many years ago and learned how they put different type of electrodes to control peripheral edema, how they measure pulse with 4 or 5 fingers to determine the patient's status. And just by measuring pulses, you could tell a lot of information, not just the heart rate, but the patient general condition, inflammation, mood, and so on. And this is somebody who was illustrating a medical textbook. So you will learn wherever you go. And I went and traveled a lot over the last 30 or 40 years. Started as a medical student. And I did an elective at the Hammersmith Hospital in London. And hazard sometimes makes things well. I was sent to do an elective in neurology. And I got there, and I never wanted to be a surgeon. And I said, I don't want to do urology. I said, well, why don't you do nephrology? I said, okay, I'll do nephrology. And this is how I became a nephrologist. So hazard can make things well, and sometimes you have to follow things as they are presented. Then trained in Geneva or Switzerland, became a house officer. And at the time I had some hair, but I was losing it already. مين اللي شبه بعض؟ ما كلهم لابسين بتاع الابيض. رحنا أمريكا, and again you could spot me somewhere there, and again the hair is receding, and then somewhere else. And back in 1986, we set up in Sheffield, when I was appointed consultant, the Sheffield Kidney Institute. And the idea of an institute was to have the the general nephrology wards on the ground floor, the dialysis on the middle floor, and have an academic setup with a library, research laboratories, and offices on the top floor. And some of you who will recognize themselves later on have visited this institution. And this is back in 1990. I think she's the cousin of the Queen, the Duchess of Gloucester, who came and opened the Sheffield Kidney Institute in 1990. And this is what the Sheffield Kidney Institute looks like now, with the old institute, new wings with outpatient departments and more offices, and a new 70-station hemodialysis unit. And as Dr. Magdi Sharawi said, back in 2009-2010, I thought that we needed to develop the medical education and nephrology education, and we set up the Global Kidney Academy, mainly to empower young nephrologists to enhance their nephrology education. And you see my thoughts about education. My thoughts about education is not to give you long lectures for an hour that you can find on the internet. My thought of medical education is to teach you to think for yourselves. And I think there's a huge gap, and we'll come back to this in a minute. What about your professors and your seniors who are sitting on the first row? Be respectful to them, but not too differential. One weakness I sense in our region and in the Middle East in general, and in many emerging countries, we over-respect authority. So if the professor or the head of department tells you, this is the right treatment, and you know it's the wrong treatment, you go ahead and do it. Because you can't say no to the professor. You can't say no to Dr. Hisham, you can't say no to Dr. Magdi, and God forbid you can't say no to Ahmed Adam. You'll be in trouble. and learn from them, but don't take all they say for granted. And again, we're not critical enough with ourselves, we're not critical enough with the professors and the senior, and we'll come back to that. Just show you a few professors. So the first one was Alex Mueller in Switzerland, Alex Leaf in America, and I'm giving you these names and you'll see why in a minute. Professor Sir Keith Peter, Professor Gabriel Richer, and my thesis supervisor, Professor Andy Rees. If I ask you, which one of you know any one of these professors, lift or raise your arm. One. And these were people who were pioneers in nephrology, people who made a huge impact in nephrology. Like all of us, they came and gone. So you're here today, gone tomorrow, and people will forget you. People will not even remember Stuart Cameron that Muhammad Sobh was talking about, who was the top nephrologist in the world back in the 80s, or Keith Peter and so on. But what you have learned from them lives on and stays with you. So in a way, their lives goes on through you and through what you learned from them. So you don't necessarily have to take everything from them, but whatever you take, whatever is valuable, carry it through and pass it on. So we'll talk about the clinician quickly. Two things, two main features of the doctor and of a clinician is respect and honesty. And always, always, always put yourself as a doctor. I'm talking to the young and junior doctors. Put yourself as a doctor in the place of the patient. When you talk to the patient, try to think as he would think. Try to put yourself in his stressful, anxious position and situation. And become the patient's agent. يعني تبقى أنت أكنك وكيل المريض، أنت اللي مسؤول، مش بس مسؤول عنه، أنت حط نفسك في مكان المريض. وبعد كده فكر أعالج المريض ده إزاي، أحسنه إزاي وهكذا. And not the patient's boss or the patient controller who tell the patient, you must do this, you must take this diet, you must take this medication. It will not work. For it to work, it's a partnership between you and the patient. Remember not to make decision on behalf of the patient, but make decision with the patient and leave your own biases alone. Leave your cultural biases alone. I would even say leave your religious biases alone, political biases alone, social biases. انسى كل ده، حطه على جنب وشوف العيان اللي قاعد قدامك ده، شوف حاله ايه، مشاكله ايه، الستريس والانكزايتي، وابتدي شوف افهم هتعالجه ازاي وهتحسن حالته ازاي. ما تدخلش اصل انا ما بحبش مش عارف ايه فبالتالي انا مش هديك، ده لا علاقة له بمرض هذا المريض. Don't bring yourself in the equation between you and the patient. Be neutral, put yourself in the patient's position and see how you can make him feel better. And always remember, Peter Moorhead was one of my colleagues and some of you knew him and he passed away. We used to go and do rounds together, and I was young and he was older, and I would say, we must give cyclophosphamide. He would say, it doesn't matter, why don't you give steroids? No, we must give cyclophosphamide. And he always told me there are many, many ways to improve a patient. And don't think there's only one way, and we'll come back to this. And whether you give this or that, in many situations, medicine is palliative. We cure very few conditions, but we palliate and treat many, many conditions. And always remember, there's no absolute truth. And all the facts are challengeable and will be false or non-fact soon, according to some people. And half what is true today in medicine will be proved false in 5 years. So you could argue that most of what you know today as facts may no longer be acceptable in 10 or 15 years. So don't feel so strong about, we must do this. There's no must, and we'll see why there's no must. Because medicine is not a pure science. Medicine is an art. How come medicine is an art? Medicine is an art because you have intuition. Sometimes you say, well, I think this patient may have a peptic ulcer. I think so, I'll do this investigation. You imagine things. You have harmony and intuitions and reflection, and it's not all hard facts like a scientist in the lab with a tube and chemicals that he's mixing and sure to get a chemical reaction. More interesting, medicine is not black and white. It's not either or, either hemodialysis or hemodiafiltration. Maybe hemodiafiltration in the diabetics, maybe hemodiafiltration in somebody with low albumin, maybe hemodialysis. It's much more personalized. And it's not dogmatic. And all too often, senior professor and senior academics are dogmatic. We must do that. It's either black or he will die. Either we give him rituximab or he will never survive. It's not like this. Medicine is the art of gray. Shades of grays. Bit of this, a bit of that. Maybe if you do this, maybe if you do that, you go back to do this and you go back to do that. And you will eventually get some result you're looking for. Decision making as a clinician, be well informed. Listen to your intuition, because the first thing you do when you see a patient, before you get all the facts, you have a gut feeling, you have an intuition. So listen to your intuition, but more important, take time to listen to the patient. Don't talk at the patient, talk with the patient. خد ودي معاه. ما تقعدوش وتفضل تديله محاضرة وانت هتعمل وهتسوي وهتشيل وهتجيب. And treatment is very often physical, medication and so on, but also psychological. Unless the patient trusts you, and unless the patient has faith in you and believes in you, your treatment will not be 100% effective. He'll go and see another doctor and another doctor and another doctor. And don't pretend that you know something, because the patient sees through the doctor straight away. هتبقى قاعد وانت بتدعي انك انت عارف حاجة وانت مش عارفها، العيان هيلاحظها وهيفقد كل ثقته فيك وهيروح يشوف مريض دكتور تاني. So be honest, don't bluff, and patient will respect you. So we'll come back to this as well. Decision makings in the UK and in many places are no longer the doctor's decision, a multidisciplinary decision. Share the decision with your team. Share the decision with your nurse, with your physiotherapist, with your social worker, and with your junior colleagues. Make medicine a multidisciplinary art or practice, and not you know everything. Because you don't know everything. And if you think you know everything, you'll get it wrong over and over again. So take your time, استشير زملائك, استشير الممرضات والزملاء, and senior one can ask advice from younger ones. And don't forget to ask the patient, what do you think of our treatment plan? Because unless the patient is invested with you in your decision, in your treatment plan, it will not work. If you tell him take a very low protein diet and he has no intention to do so, and you haven't discussed it long enough, and you haven't convinced him long enough, he won't take it. So consult the patient and yet again listen and respect the patient. Treat with the patient and not at the patient. So respect your patient, respect your colleagues, don't look too much up at the senior one, and don't look too much down at the junior ones. افتح لي زود لي شوية دقايق. Oops, hang on. And be honest, and know what you know, and know what you don't know. And very often patients come to the clinic and say, what do you think, doctor, of this new treatment? I've read about it or listened about it in the news about stem cell treatment for focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. You could say, oh yeah, I know everything about it, and you don't know, he'll know you're a liar. You can say, I don't know anything about it, he may lose faith in you. So be honest. Say, well, I'm not sure about it. Come back in 2 or 3 days. I will find out more about it. I will read more about it, and then we can discuss it together. All too often, doctors think they are some sort of gods, and they must know everything. And it just doesn't work like this. So not knowing is the first step of learning. If you don't know, you'll go and read. If you don't know, you'll go and inform yourself and improve yourself. If you say, I know everything, خلاص بقى نقفل الموضوع ونروح. And it's sad because a lot of people think like this, that they know everything, and what they don't know, they pretend they know. فالعملية مقفولة من ناحيتين، ولا هو عارف ولا هو عايز يتعلم. Briefly, the educator. Different styles, and Muhammad Sobh knows them very well. Training a medical student is different from training a junior doctor, and is different from training a nephrologist. Again, respect and honesty. For the medical student, I think the main thing to make a medical student interested in nephrology is keep it simple. Medical students don't like nephrology. They think it's too complicated, nephrology معقدة, physiology, pathophysiology, and so on. With tubules, with glomeruli, with reabsorption, with fractional excretion, they طفش أي medical student. So try to keep it simple and make it exciting and make it relevant in the context of general health. يعني high blood pressure, diabetes, poor health, aging. Keep it in the context and keep it simple, and remind them of the kidney in a multi-system disease, or multi-system, full stop. Training junior doctors also. A lot of junior doctors don't like to come to renal units because they think people work too hard in the renal units, it's too complicated, and they don't like fluid and electrolyte balance. So demystify nephrology. Tell them nephrologists are by far the best internists, and they know a lot more than other specialties. And nephrology is the king, or is the king doctor. Other specialties, cardiologists, neurologists, dermatologists, كل دول غلابة هنسميهم princes. But be patient and respectful with the trainees. So often you see a senior doctor insulting, abusing, demeaning a junior doctor in a hospital ward. انت حمار, انت عملت, انت سويت, you made an error, you harmed the patient, كنت هتموت العيان. And this puts people off. It put my daughter off hospital medicine. My daughter spent 7 years in medical school, 3 months in a junior doctor capacity on a ward. She was abused, aggressed, harassed by the senior consultant. She said, that's not for me. I'll be a family doctor and I'll go home and set up my own practice. So don't always assume that junior doctors make mistakes. Don't aggress them for making mistakes. They have to make mistakes. That's the only way they learn. So assume that they gain experience. And even encourage them not to be afraid of making mistakes. Because if they're so afraid of making mistakes, they'll be walking around afraid of taking initiative. And if they're afraid of taking initiative, they won't be treating anybody and they won't be good doctors. For young nephrologists like you, I think the most important thing is to change your attitudes, open your minds, and develop a critical mind. Minds are often closed, and it's difficult to open them for many reasons. There's pressure on you, you must perform, you must do this. It's difficult to be critical, because if you're critical, people may dislike you. But you have to open your minds. You have to put a lot of restraints aside, cultural restraints aside, and open your mind, be prepared to learn, be prepared to accept criticism, and have critical. In this meeting, over the last 2 days, I've seen so many statements based on publication abstracts. And I bet you anything that the professors who report these publications have not read the paper. And if they read them, they haven't read them critically. Because if they have read them critically, they would not have recommended or said what they did during the lecture yesterday or today. So open your mind, be critical, and in the Global Kidney Academy we spend a lot of time. We spent 10 years developing reflective practice, critical thinking, and so on. And I've just put a list of people who, or some of the Egyptian colleagues who trained with us over the years at the Sheffield Institute. And many started by being trainees, fellows, and so on. This is Dr. Muhammad Abdel Bari when he was a young, General Abdel Bari when he was a young nephrologist. Back in 1990 or something like this? 93. And Nagi Sayyid Ahmed came before him, but again I haven't got a picture. Ahmed Aql, Muhammad Subh was talking about, Ahmed Fathi, Koreai, Ahmed Adam, who was a senior registrar at the Sheffield Kidney Institute, Amir Okeli. I haven't got a picture of my friend Zaghlul al-Safi, but he's there, one of my dearest friends who came and spent some time with us, and many more who you'll recognize. Some became friends, and many, most of them actually, became good friends. And I may have forgotten some. Back to the Global Kidney Academy, critical thinking, reflective thinking. Think for yourself. Don't always expect the lecturer, the professor, the teacher to tell you what to think, what to do, and how to practice medicine. And we used to run a diploma course and a master course in nephrology, 12 months. And I used to tell them, I want you at the end of the 12 months to learn one thing. One letter to ask why. They were afraid to ask why. You tell them you treat this with steroids, okay? You treat this with rituximab, fine. You do plasmapheresis in lupus nephritis, يروح كاتبها ويقول لك okay. Nobody dared to ask why. So ask why, and ask the 5 whats. Who knows the 5 whats? Go ahead, you must know the 5 whats. The 5 watts, and again they're relevant to all the things we discussed: hemodialysis, hemodiafiltration, medium cutoff, high cutoff. Why am I doing it? What is the evidence that supports the use of this intervention or that investigation or that biopsy in that context? Is it useful for my patient? You heard Dr. Osama saying the formula may be useful for somebody in North America or in Australia. It may not be relevant to somebody in Minya. So, is it useful to my patient? Risk versus benefit. Cost versus benefit. So any investigation, any treatment, any intervention, try to think of these 5 watts. Why am I doing this biopsy? How will it change my management? Oh, I'm doing it because I want to know if it's class 1, class 2, or whatever. What is the risk then to the patient? What is the cost benefit? What is the risk benefit, and so on? But more important, education in medicine is not the learning of facts. If you want a lecture on lupus nephritis, go to the internet, you'll find 500 lectures. If you want the lecture on CKD-MBD, you'll find many. Education is not the learning of facts. That's Albert Einstein. It's training you to think. And I would challenge you to tell you that in Egypt and in the Middle East, you don't think enough. Well, enough. And you like to be spoon-fed. You like to come to a meeting like this, spend 3 days, take notes, take photographs of the slides, learn it by heart, وخلاص يبقى انتوا ريحتوا نفسكم ولا اجتهدتوا ولا حاجة. And this is Agatha Christie, who says the human mind prefers to be spoon-fed. أسهل. هتيجي تقعد هتفطر هتتغدى وبين الفطار والغدا هديك كذا محاضرة تحفظهم ويبقى انتهى الموضوع. But this, deprived of such nourishment, it will. And if you're not spoon-fed, reluctantly, بالتدريج, you'll begin to think for yourself. نرجع لموضوع think for yourself. And such self-thinking, remember, is original. You'll start formulating your own thought and may have valuable results. Whilst if you take the thinking of Dr. Adam, Dr. Hisham, Dr. Magdi, Dr. Osama, and so on, you become a clone who goes around repeating what they tell you without even thinking or being critical about what they tell you, because you're afraid of being critical. So respect. Be respectful for those who come to you, who want to learn from you. Be honest, be truthful, don't bluff. Not knowing better than pretending you know, and not knowing is the first step to learning. Persevere. I mean, this is for young doctors. You seem to have a hard time, and I think we all had a hard time as junior doctors. And you will always think that your generation is the hardest done by generation. But you don't know that we also struggled. You don't know that when we were 30 or 35, we also felt that our generation was having a hard time. So persevere and don't give up. And the educator puts the seed of knowledge, and you make it grow by never giving up. So don't give up and persevere. And just a word or two about the leader. The leader is somebody who should guide, inspire, and facilitate. And don't be afraid of swimming opposite the trend, opposite the flow. All too often, we like sheep like to go with the crowd. If الناس رايحة في الاتجاه ده هروح معاهم أسهل من أن الناس كلها تروح في اتجاه وأنا هروح في الاتجاه المضاد. فبالتالي you don't bring anything original, you don't invent anything, you don't innovate because you just follow the crowd. So don't follow the crowd, and instead of being these orange fish who will go nowhere, be the green fish who might one day go differently and make a difference. And finally, the last slide is have a life. All too often, doctors have, more often actually, male doctors than female doctors. Their life is all medicine. من الصبح بالليل. دراسة, مراجعة, امتحانات. It's fine. Interestingly enough, I think female doctors have a more balanced approach to professional life because they have their families as well, they have their children maybe, and they tend to have a more balanced view. So for men, be women, and for women, be men, but have a life. And ده دلوقتي في gender ثالث قال لك في male وفي female وفي the others, and have fun. And all too often again you all complain to be tired, to be depressed. Medicine is fun. You are very privileged to be doctors. You are very privileged to have this profession and be healers. So enjoy it whilst you're practicing. Don't wait like me to retire, look back and say, oh, I had a great time practicing medicine. Enjoy it now, enjoy it here, and have fun. Thank you.
نشكر الأستاذ النحاس على conclusion of his 50 years experience in medicine. وفعلا I agree with him. أنا يمكن بيني وبين الدكتور مجيد 14 سنة مثلا، لكن أنا I agree with him with every word. وأعتقد الدكتور خالد كان موافق، الدكتور جمال موافق، الدكتور محمد صبحي موافق، الدكتور آدم موافق، الدكتور حسين موافق، الدكتور أسامة، الدكتور هشام طبعا موافق، الدكتور محمد طبعا موافق، وأعتقد معظم الناس
عايزين نسمع الشباب.
ما هو دي الرسالة. أنا رأيي إن أنتوا تسمعوا الكلام من الناس اللي عدت المرحلة ديت، لأن فعلا إحنا we are facing a lot of يعني inhibitions، بالذات دلوقتي الترند اللي ماشي في مصر. الطب مهنة سيئة، ما بتجيبش فلوس، ما تاكلش عيش، ما تفتحش بيت، لكن هي actually it is a fun. أنا I totally agree. I enjoyed it. وكلنا started from scratch. ما حدش من اللي قاعد هنا اتولد معاه فلوس ولا غني ولا لابس بدل ابدا. Even بروفيسور مجيد اكيد he suffered a lot, he traveled a lot. محمد صبحي شفته عمل ايه عشان يوصل الى his state now وياخد جايزة النيل. It is not an easy way but it is an enjoyable way. And ما فيش حد فينا هنا من الكبار not satisfied. اسألوا اي حد من اللي قاعد في اول صف. If he is not satisfied with what he has done through his life, يبقى انتوا استقيلوا وسيبوا المهنه دي. لكن فعلا we all enjoyed it even لو ما جبناش money، even لو ما كانش عندنا، لو كنا ضحينا بالعائله شويه حضرتك زي ما حضرتك قلت، لكن we all enjoyed it. ف try to enjoy it. try to enjoy it.
انا طبعا كده ولا كده هتعانوا.
ايوه لو اشتغلت مهندسين هتعانوا برضه. بالظبط. انا مش عارف اشكر حضرتك ازاي، لان فعلا الكونكلوجن بتاع ذيس وورك يعني يمكن مؤتمرنا احنا في عين شمس بيتميز بدعوه الجونيور فيزيشن.